This story is based on reports sent in by our subscribers and edited by me. The names have been changed to protect anonymity. If you would like your story to be told here, feel free to contact us. We would be delighted to hear from you. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like. So, let's get started. I've never been the type to be interested in other people's routines. I love my privacy, my space, the silence of my house at dusk. But everything changed the very day he arrived. Jack, tall, dark-haired, with a walk that seemed choreographed, as if every step said something. I don't know how to explain it, but just by looking at him, I could already sense that there was something there. Something hidden behind his eyes that sparkled when the sun hit them from the side. The first time I saw him, he was unloading boxes from his car, wearing a tight white t-shirt and jeans that, let's just say, highlighted certain features that would be hard to miss. If you know what I mean. I was at the window, drinking my coffee, but at that moment, I couldn't even remember what it tasted like. I just remember that my cup was trembling a little between my fingers. I spent days watching him. He always arrived punctually at 6 o'clock in the evening. He took care of the house with an almost artistic dedication. I saw him sweeping the yard with slow, focused movements, as if every leaf had a precise place to fall. He washed the car on weekends, scrubbing firmly and precisely. Each of these movements seemed to have a rhythm, an intention, as if he were rehearsing for a very special kind of performance. And me? Well, I found myself imagining what it would be like to be there, close to him. Touch it, to feel that warmth that seemed to radiate from his skin, even from a distance. I hated myself a little for thinking this way, but at the same time, I loved it. That mystery was addictive. I never saw anyone enter or leave his house. No woman, no man, nothing. And that lack of company awakened a question in me that kept nagging at my mind. Is he gay? And the truth is, I wanted to know, not just out of curiosity, but because it would determine whether I could fantasize freely, or if I should hold back a little. Spoiled as I am, I couldn't restrain myself. One day, seized by an impulse I couldn't even explain to myself, I waited for him to come out into the garden and walked over to the fence. "Hi, Jake. Have you lived here long?" I asked, trying to sound casual, as if I wasn't literally devouring him with my eyes. "No, I just moved in," he replied with that smiley face, a mix of shyness and charm, as if he was saying more than just words. "Ah, I see." I paused, pretending to think. "Do you have a girlfriend? A wife?" He shook his head, in that calm and composed way of his. "I'm not married, and I don't have a girlfriend." My voice came out a little lower, full of something I didn't even try to hide. "Are you gay?" He looked at me, not like someone who was offended, but like someone who was analyzing, and he simply answered, "No." Just like that. And he walked away, as if he had just said the sky was blue. That left me there, my breathing a little uneven, and my mind full of possibilities. Curiosity turned into something more intense, a sweet obsession. I found myself imagining what it would be like to hear him call me by my name, to see me up close, maybe with wet hair, freshly out of the shower, with a towel draped on me in a strategically careless way. Maybe he's hiding something big, I thought. If you know what I mean. One night, everything went black, literally. A mysterious power outage struck only my house. Ironic. Alone, scared, and without internet, I did what any reasonable woman would do. I went to knock on my handsome neighbor's door. "Hi, sorry to bother you. I had a power outage, and I don't know what happened." He opened the door. The soft light coming from inside highlighted every line of his face. I had to take a deep breath. He was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, unbuttoned halfway down his chest, and the scent, oh, that scent, a blend of wood and mystery. "Of course, you can come in. Let's see what we can do," he said in a deep, controlled voice. I stepped inside, and there, within his world, everything felt warmer, closer. He moved naturally around the room, searching for lanterns and candles, while I felt like an enchanted teenager. "You cook too?" I asked, noticing the impeccably clean kitchen, with gleaming pots and perfectly organized spices. "I like to cook." "Yes," he replied with a discreet smile. "Who knows, maybe one day I'll try what you can do with your hands. In the kitchen, of course, if you know what I mean." He looked at me differently, as if he understood exactly what I meant, as if he enjoyed the game. And it was there, in that half-dark house, by the light of a single candle, that something began to simmer between us. But just as he was coming closer, about to say something, the ring of his cell phone broke the spell. He answered quickly and apologized, then left in a hurry. I stayed there, in the silence, with the candle flame flickering, and my own too. But I knew this was only the beginning. He led me into the living room, where a soft amber light gently filled the space. The sofa, draped with a grey knitted blanket, invited you to touch it. I sat down awkwardly, trying to appear natural, even though my heart was pounding, almost echoing in my chest. Jake came back with 2 glasses of wine. When he handed me one, our fingers touched for a second longer than necessary. That's when I felt it. There was a spark, and it wasn't just in my head. "Thank you," I murmured, trying to keep my gaze fixed on the window and not on him. He sat down next to me, but not too close. That kind of strategic distance that keeps the tension alive, almost like a tightrope stretched between us. One wrong move and it could snap, or snap with pleasure. We talked about simple things, work, books, music, but the way he looked at me, it was as if he was undressing me with his eyes, layer by layer, without rushing. Like someone who knows how to savor every detail before reaching the center, if you know what I mean. "You seem curious, Emily," he said with an enigmatic smile. "I'm an observant woman. I like to understand what's around me," I replied, wetting my lips with the wine. He tilted his head and studied me. "And what do you think you've understood about me?" "That you're meticulous, attention to detail, and only can be..." Jake took a sip of his drink before answering. "And what else?" I bit the corner of my lip, trying to decide whether or not I should say it. "That you're a mystery, one of those you want to unravel with your own hands." He laughed. It wasn't a loud laugh, but that low, muffled kind that seems to come from deep within your chest, and for some reason sends a chill down your spine. "Not all mysteries are meant to be solved, Emily," he said, his eyes fixed on mine. "Some might surprise you or overwhelm you." I felt a warmth run down my spine. Jake knew how to play with words. He teased me like someone playing the piano, lightly, precisely, and deeply. And I no longer knew whether I wanted to resist or surrender to the sound. "I like surprises, especially the ones that awaken all my senses," I murmured, leaning my body slightly toward him. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Our faces were dangerously close. The wine was already just an excuse, and the power outage an irresistible invitation. Jake ran his fingers through my hair, brushing aside a strand that had fallen across my face. His touch was firm, yet careful, like someone who knew exactly what he was doing, like a craftsman shaping something delicate. "Do you really want to know what keeps me away from women?" he asked in a low voice, almost hoarse. I nodded. I wanted to. I wanted everything, or at least I thought I did. He pulled away, took his cell phone, and put it on silent mode. Then he looked at me with a more serious expression. "It's something that usually scares people. I've been called excessive, reckless, unusual, but it's something I can't change. It's who I am." My hands were sweaty. My chest was rising and falling too quickly. This confession, wrapped in a somber tone, only increased my desire to understand, or to prove it. "If you know what I mean, I want to know," I repeated. He hesitated for a second, then came closer and whispered in my ear with a firmness that sent a shiver through me. I have a natural 22 centimeter instrument, and that tends to complicate things. For a moment, silence reigned between us. I swallowed hard, trying to process it. My body reacted before my mind did. A shiver, a heat rising up my thighs, a sudden urge to find out if it was really true, or just another part of the mystery he sold so well. "Then can I see?" I asked, without thinking, or maybe from thinking too much. Jake just smiled, that mischievous smile at the corner of his mouth that seemed to say everything without needing words. "He can, but maybe you won't want to leave my house after that." Those words kept echoing in my head. I didn't know if I really wanted to leave. And as I watched him stand up and reach out his hand to me, I realized that the night was only just beginning, and that what was about to happen could change everything between us. After that moment was interrupted by the ringing of the cell phone, I found myself alone in Jake's room, surrounded by the woody scent he left lingering in the air. The candle was still flickering on the small table, casting shadows on the walls, as if it were staging what had yet to happen. My body was still throbbing with impatience, as if I had been plunged into the middle of a burning dream, on the verge of evaporating. The next day, I resisted the urge to look for him. The truth is, my pride would not let me knock on his door again. But fate, that mischievous thing, loves to toy with our stubbornness. Early in the evening, I heard 3 knocks at the door. It was him. "Hi," Jake said, with that shy smile that only fueled my desire even more. "Hi," I replied, trying to keep my composure, but my legs betrayed my excitement. They were trembling as if they knew something was about to happen. "Sorry, about yesterday. That call. I couldn't ignore it, but I wanted to talk to you if you could." "Of course. Come in." He crossed my threshold with the calm of someone carrying a secret. And when he sat down on the couch, I noticed he was more tense than usual. "Emily, since I moved in, I've noticed you watching me." I blushed, but I didn't deny it. "It's hard not to notice you." He smiled, and I noticed that too. "It's just, there's something you need to know." My pupils dilated. "What?" "It's just that I avoid getting involved with women because some of them don't know how to handle certain proportions." He said this while looking away, almost embarrassed. "Proportions?" I asked, my voice rougher than I would have liked. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "My tool, and I'm not talking about a work tool, if you know. What I mean is 22 centimeters long." There was a moment of silence, then I found myself biting my lip, unable to control my curiosity. "Well, can I see?" The words slipped out before common sense could stop me. Jake hesitated but stood up. "Do you really want to?" I nodded, feeling the heat rise in my neck. He walked slowly toward me, like a wolf testing the limits of its prey. When he stopped in front of me, he put his hands on his belt, but didn't take it off. Instead, he leaned in and whispered, "I just want you to know, after this, there's no going back." "I have no intention of going back, Ma," I murmured, feeling every inch of air between us grow thicker. With a calculated gesture, he opened just enough space for me to catch a glimpse that confirmed his boldness. It wasn't just his size that was impressive, it was also the way he knew the power he carried. It was like opening Pandora's box, and I was ready to face the consequences. Without saying another word, Jake sat down again, but this time closer to me. His hand touched my knee, slowly sliding, as if to test the bones. My muscles tensed, not out of fear, but in anticipation. "No one has ever been able to properly handle my tool," he said with a sly grin. "But you look like you know how to fit a big piece into the right box." "Maybe I have more skills than I let on," I retorted, placing my hand on his and guiding it higher as we ventured into dangerous and deliciously exciting territory. "No one has ever been able to properly handle my tool," he said with a sly grin. "But you look like you know how to fit a big piece into the right box." Maybe I have more skills than I let on, I retorted, placing my hand on his and guiding it higher, as we ventured into dangerous and deliciously exciting territory. The air was thick. Our bodies spoke more than our mouths. When our lips finally met, a jolt of electricity shot down my spine. The kiss wasn't urgent, it was deep, almost inquisitive, as if he wanted to explore every corner of my mouth before moving on to more intense adventures. My hand slid down his back, feeling every muscle tense beneath my fingers. He smelled of wood, strong coffee, and something uniquely masculine. Jake slowly laid me down on the couch, his hands roaming over my skin as if he were unraveling a secret map. "I want to take it slow," he murmured between kisses. "But you make me lose control, Emily." "Then lose control. Just a little," I replied, shifting my body to fit his better. The next morning I tried to go about my routine, as if nothing had happened. But it was impossible to ignore the memory of the look in Jake's eyes, the way he showed me his instrument. Something lingered in the air, like a song that stops at the height of its melody. And I couldn't shake the feeling that the moment wasn't over. It was just waiting for the right time to begin again. Once again, he knocked on my door without saying a word. He took off his shirt, revealing a body that looked as if it had been sculpted by hand. With my eyes, I traced the path I wanted my lips to follow. And when he came closer, his fingers lightly brushing my waist, the heat between us became unbearable. His lips found my neck, and I arched my body, feeling his breath slowly move downward, as if he were exploring every part of my territory. It wasn't just physical, it was a mental game. He knew how to provoke, I knew where to play, and above all, he knew how to wait for the right moment. "You're trembling," he whispered, sliding his tongue along my collarbone. "And you haven't seen anything yet," I whispered, pulling him closer to me. Jake carefully laid me down on the couch, like someone handling a rare piece. His eyes traveled over my body as if he were memorizing every curve. And with slow, deliberate movements, he positioned himself between my legs, maintaining the rhythm and the suspense, as if he were a conductor of desire. When I felt the pressure of his instrument against my clothes, a shiver ran down my spine. He hadn't lied, not even a little. And I admit, I felt challenged. "Ready to find out if your toolbox can handle this?" He joked as he pressed harder. "Show me what you can do with that tool, Foreman," I whispered back, breathless. His laughter was muffled by the intense kiss that followed. Our bodies fit together like pieces of a forbidden puzzle, and the couch became the stage for a symphony of caresses, whispers, and muffled moans. And it was there, among scattered pillows and entwined bodies, that I discovered Jake's mystery lay not only in his size, but in the way he knew how to use every second of anticipation to his advantage. And I was more than willing to keep playing this game. The day was far from over, and my appetite was far from satisfied. That day, I woke up with the sheets tangled between my legs, and the memory of the previous night pulsing through every inch of my body. I could still feel his presence on my skin, as if his hands had left invisible marks that burned softly. Jake had left early, leaving a simple note on the kitchen table. "Tonight, wear something light. Let's pick up where we left off." That alone was enough to keep me in a state of provocative restlessness all day. With every passing hour, my imagination painted new scenes of what picking up where we left off could mean. And the way he looked at me, as if he already knew me by heart, didn't help at all. I felt like a piece of porcelain being carefully observed before being touched. And I admit, I wanted to be touched, if you know what I mean. The sky was starting to darken when I heard the doorbell ring. My heart was pounding as if I already knew the game would begin right then. I opened the door and he was there, this time with a different expression, more confident, more intense, more hungry. He came in silently, but his eyes said everything. I closed the door behind us, and for a moment, only the sound of our breathing filled the room. Jake approached slowly, running his fingers along the hem of my silk dress, as if he were assessing the fabric, or what was underneath. "You followed the note to the letter," he said with that sly smile that made me shiver. You have no idea how hard it was not to take off this dress all day, I replied, and he bit his lower lip as if savoring the thought. We went over to the couch, but I quickly realized that space wouldn't be enough for what was about to happen. He took me by the hand, leading me through the room as if he knew the way by heart. The lights were dimmed, and the atmosphere felt rehearsed, as if everything had been written in an intimate script just for us. There, time stood still. He came up behind me and wrapped his arms around me, letting his lips brush against my neck. A shiver ran down my spine, and my legs grew weak, as if my body was already ready to surrender to his command. Jake spun me around, and our eyes met. "You know you can stop at any time, right?" he said in a husky, almost possessive tone. "And miss the show?" I replied, almost in a whisper, slipping my hands inside his shirt. He laughed softly, the kind of laugh that mixes desire and danger, and then it began. Jake was slow, meticulous, like a conductor leading an orchestra made of sighs and stifled moans. His caresses traced paths across my skin, as if he were claiming every curve of my body as his territory. He slid his fingers along my thigh, moving upward slowly, almost like torture. When he finally reached the place where I needed him most, he stopped and looked at me with the expression of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. "Do you want me to continue?" he teased. "You're still asking?" I replied, my voice already muffled by desire. He continued, and every movement was like a perfectly placed musical note, composing a melody that completely enveloped me. I gave myself completely, without reservation, without rushing. It was as if our bodies were dancing a choreography rehearsed in another life. And then he spoke, his lips pressed against my ear. "Now, do you understand why I avoided getting involved with someone like you?" I could barely breathe, but I still managed to ask between gasps, "And what exactly am I?" He smiled and answered in a firm tone. "A woman who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to feel it. It scares me and excites me, if you know what I mean." Oh, I understood. I understood perfectly. And at that moment I realized it wasn't just physical attraction. It was also a hunger. A hunger for soul, for skin, for touch, and for surrender. We stayed there for hours, sharing quiet laughter, bold touches, and whispered confessions. I discovered that Jake had invisible scars he hid beneath his silence, and that his reserved manner was just armor to protect something much more intense inside. Something he was only now beginning to show me, inch by inch. When dawn broke, we were lying side by side, covered only by each other's warmth. This time the silence was comfortable, as if our bodies had said everything words could not express. But before I could close my eyes, Jake turned to me and said, "There's something I haven't told you yet, something that could change everything between us." My heart leapt in my chest. I didn't know if it was fear or excitement, but my answer was simple. "Then tell me." And that's how it all began. "Then tell me," I repeated, feeling my body still warm from the invisible lines he had traced on me hours earlier. Dawn wrapped around us, and even so, it was as if time itself was waiting for the confession that hovered between us. Jake turned his face toward the ceiling, took a deep breath, then began. "I'm not exactly the man you thought you met." His tone was low, serious, almost as if he was afraid that the truth itself might awaken a hidden ghost in the room. I was silent. With men like him, the key is to listen with your whole body. Eyes fixed, breath held, skin alert. His language wasn't made of sentences, it was made of pauses. And I was ready to read every one of them. Before, I used to hide behind routine, commitments, control. But you ruined all that. He smiled out of the corner of his mouth, and even there, in the midst of a possible revelation, desire still flowed through the timbre of his voice. I made a good mistake, I hope. I teased him as I slid my fingers across his stomach, just to see if the tension would ease or increase. Jake closed his eyes for a second and let out a muffled laugh. You have no idea the effect you have on me. Your presence disarms me. It's as if you have the key to a door I didn't even know existed, and now it's wide open. And are you afraid of what I might find in there? No. I'm afraid of what you'll do when you find out. The room fell silent for a moment, but our bodies kept communicating. I could feel her warmth, the subtle shiver that sparked whenever my hand lightly brushed her skin. Everything was still alive, throbbing, ready to explode once again. But this time, there was something more, a deeper, more dangerous game. And I was ready to play it, if you know what I mean. So show me, I whispered close to his ear, with the boldness of someone who has already tasted danger and wants another dose. He turned onto his side and faced me. His eyes were different. They were no longer the eyes of a man wanting to dominate, but those of someone ready to surrender. And when his lips met mine, I realized there was no more armor, just skin, pure, exposed, raw. The way he touched me that night was different. There was no rush, no intention to control. It was as if every touch said, I belong to you, at least for now. And that ignited something even more primal in me. The way he intertwined our legs, the way he bit my shoulder with meticulous care, the way he whispered nonsense in my ear, all of it made me lose any sense of right or wrong. There was nothing left but the present moment, our wet bodies, entwined, dancing beneath the sheets to a rhythm only we knew. And even then, as I surrendered, he kept teasing. You like it when I leave you like this, vulnerable, captive to my breath. I love it when you hold me without using your hands, I replied, breathless, as he slowly explored every inch of me like someone unwrapping a rare gift, very slowly, savoring every second of discovery. The climax arrived silently, without warning, like a wave forming deep in the sea and crashing powerfully onto the shore. As my body arched and I unraveled, in his arms, I realized that something had changed, not just between us, but inside me as well. Afterwards, we went to bed, taking our time. He stroked my hair with his fingertips, tracing small circles on my scalp, as if he were trying to organize his thoughts. He moved over me with the lightness of someone who knows every inch of my body, but with the hunger of someone who wants to rediscover it all. His gaze burned into mine, as if he were undressing me from the inside, and that was hardly an exaggeration. I felt his fingers running across my stomach, slow and purposeful, like someone writing a secret letter on my skin. Every touch was an exclamation point on my body, and as his mouth moved down my neck, all that was left were sighs and unspoken promises. Are you ready to feel something different? He murmured, his husky voice echoing straight to my instincts. You're still asking? I replied, biting my lip, my legs already parted, asking for more than just words, if you know what I mean. He smiled and flipped me over with a firm motion, as if he were claiming something that had always belonged to him. My body pressed against the sheets, my breathing quickened, and the warm sensation of his presence behind me, everything conspired toward the inevitable. His firm grip held my hips, then he entered me, not hurried, not rough, but with an intensity that made me forget my own name. With every thrust, or rather, with every plunge of his into me, I felt my body being torn apart and rebuilt. His fingers dug into my waist. A rough moan escaped his lips, and the sound of our bodies meeting in a frenzied rhythm. It was as if the world disappeared. Do you feel that? He asked, his breath heavy against my neck. I feel you invading me. Like a storm, I replied, arching my back, asking for more, always more. And he gave it to me. He gave it to me without holding back. No shame, no respite. My cry was muffled by the pillow, but it was no less real. It was there, in that fiery back and forth, that I realized we had gone beyond every physical limit. It was soul, flesh, and delirium. When we collapsed together, Exhausted and sweating, he pulled me into his arms. Silence. But a silence full of meaning, of things yet to be said. And yet there, amidst the bursts of pleasure, I knew it wasn't over yet. And some stories, like certain touches, have to be felt before they can be understood, if you know what I mean. Jake pulled me closer to him, his body still warm against mine. And there, in the silence that spoke more than 1,000 words, I knew it wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something that neither he nor I dared to name. And that's all for today. This story is over, but if you click on the video above, you can find more stories like this one. Thank you to everyone who left a comment. Don't forget to like the channel and subscribe so you don't miss my next videos.